Hey, it's Spence, the evil genius.
Oh, yes, it is. Hey, everybody, good morning. It's Monday, February 9th, 11 o'clock. What a wild weekend. Hopefully you weren't bored to tears over the Super Bowl like myself, and I was with a nice group of folks. We had a lot of fun, but other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the play? Today, I want to introduce what I was going to do on Sunday for my Sunday Fun Day, but I got so busy coding, and then the Super Bowl came up that it didn't happen. I'm going to set the stage by asking you guys, who knows of this new stuff called OpenClaw, which is really interesting because it's not doing anything more or less than you can already do when you're using a tool like Anthropic's. Let me go here. If you're using right now Anthropic's Claude's desktop and cowork, or if you're using other tools like ChatGPT as this, we already have what's basically AI tools that do more. That is to say, instead of talking to a chatbot one-to-one, whether he's in your site or on a web browser, there's a new sheriff in town. That is, what if you could have an agentic manager inside of either your desktop in a particular computer, or in my case, inside of WordPress, and it has access to all of the tools it needs to solve problems for you, build stuff for you, run your business asynchronously. In other words, it could just be given a bunch of stuff. You go to bed, go away, take a trip, and it takes care of all the stuff for you. And you come back and your whole life is destroyed. No, I'm just kidding. You come back and all of the stuff is done for you. Or even better, that it has a notification system like in our mobile-friendly MinuteLaunch system, which usually I have at hand here because I have a shortcut on my desktop, on my little phone, where you can just pop this dude up. I have a little A, and it pops up. Hopefully, I'm logged in. Yeah, pops up my little mobile version of what's happening. Now, let me introduce you to my version of this. Instead of OpenClaw, and by the way, the word claw is weird because there's like a lobster reference, but it used to be called molt, and I guess molting like your shell, but it was all like a takeoff on Claude, I think. Instead of OpenClaw, I have created this weekend MinuteLaunch Claw. Spence, you're so clever. How do you come up with these names? Well, it takes a lot of work, folks. Here's the deal. Instead of, and not, that's wrong, not instead of, as a complement to what is normally done. Oh, and I'm not going to chew gum even though I'm thirsty, because I chomp like a cow. As a complement to using the other tools that we've got, like, for example, here's our MinuteLaunch AI assistant. The MinuteLaunch Claw is the asynchronous, autonomous, agentic task manager. Here's what we got. We have the chat where you talk to it. You have the tasks queue. You have project directories. You have the logs of what it's done. And then you have the configuration of setting it up for how you want it to work. What I figured was I already have a platform here for you guys to use out of the box with WordPress and all of the ways to save and organize and use the components that come out of it. We don't need to have you going off and setting up your own VPN servers or anything else like that, VPS, because we've already got the components. Just put a MinuteLaunch plugin in, turn on MinuteLaunch Claw, and here you go. Here's how it works. I can give it projects to do. Like, for example, I can create and code and implement a plugin. Good morning, Fernando, MinuteLaunch Claw, whatever you're calling yourself today. It's Spence. Please be kind to me when you take over the universe. But until that time, would you be able to create a WordPress plugin, a single file plugin that essentially puts itself on the top of the site in a scrolling banner that says, "Hi, I'm MinuteLaunch Claw, and I'm ready to work for you." And make sure it has an admin dashboard component that I can also use to configure what the phrase is that it says, and then have that scroll across the screen. Make the plugin, execute the plugin, turn the plugin on, and put in an initial starting point. Get that all going for me. So it's smart enough when I talk to it to understand concepts It is connected right now to my choice of LLM. I'm using, I think Sonnet 4.5. It could be Opus 4.6, but I'm using Anthropic's tool. If I was using it for design, I might turn on Gemini. I've talked to you guys about that before. And it's going to essentially give me a summary what it wants to do, right? Oh, let me create the scrolling banner plugin for you. I'm going to do this, and it's going to set up a task. And in the background, the task that it creates will be essentially here for me to manage and utilize and look at. So here's the queue, and I can either queue this for later or run it immediately. Let's say I run it immediately. When it does that, it will create, and by the way, this is a new untested version, but it will create a list like you see of what it's going to do and a to-do list. It will go down the to-do list at its own pace, asynchronously, while I walk away and sleep or work. And then when it's done, it will let me know that it's ready to go. Okay. So at the moment, it's processing it. It's taking a moment. It's doing its stuff. And I'm not going to make you sit here and watch this, but just as an example, here's some other tasks that it's done before, right? I can look at what it's done. I can preview what it's done. I can improve it and mark it as done. Why is that relevant? If it makes a plugin, I could say, I love this plugin. Let's package it up. Let's use it. If I want to give it or share it or sell it, it's ready to go. You just saw it kicked into execution mode. If it needs work, I can tell it, hey, let's fix this. Let's do that. If it's a design component, it can post it to a page or a post or a custom post type, or it can give me a block of HTML ready to use. If it's for marketing, if it's for image creation, it's essentially like using the regular AI assistant, but in asynchronous mode. So it can operate and do projects like a factory with a manager and a bunch of workers. And I can, go away and do other stuff. I can go review other projects or the logs, go do work inside of my other things and come back. So you're going to be seeing this. And also, although I can't really show you because of the way I'm sharing the screen, I can pop this out and it can sit on my desktop. So I'm pretty excited about this because this provides us essentially all of the benefits of OpenClaw, but in our own customized to the WordPress way. And the outputs, the outcomes are awesome. Like before this, I threw it in the trash. But before this, I had him create a plugin and it works brilliantly. So we'll see if while I'm showing you some other stuff, if he finishes building this plugin, we'll see how quickly he does it. In the meantime, I also made a bunch of improvements to the MinuteLaunch AI Assistant in the new interface, primarily in terms of like the execution of tasks and in the execution of the media library and some other stuff. I'm going to do a different video on this, but the goal for this is probably today or tomorrow to have the interface mature enough that it really, really, really just becomes a CRM killer. The whole purpose of this, let me reload this interface, by the way. The whole purpose of this is really to put a CRM killer in your pocket. You'll notice here, I was at Pickleball and I was showing a friend of mine who's a business person, Art Kessler, what it can do with the, hey, add art to my blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, let's ask it to do other stuff, right? Like I'm going to go to the gym. Where's the Planet Fitness on Deerfield Road open to, or what time is it open to? And it gave me that information. It can also send me a link for a map or other stuff. So in other words, it's a CRM killer in your pocket that allow you to do things like save your important stuff, share your stuff, create content, interact with your customers. And I think to that end, it becomes very powerful because, like, again, I'm not in full mobile mode here, but if I wanted to do something with somebody, being able to view their profile or phone call them or email them or text them or have something created for them or do the marketing automation, like that's 99.9% of the stuff. Having content created is awesome. Like doing an image search, find images of ramen noodles. That's awesome. I have it in a box. I can make it now and use it later. Maybe I'm going to do a website about ramen noodles. Here's all the ones that I can choose from. And if I want to use them, save them, or put them in reference, I could be like, here's a reference image and say, hey, write a blog post 3 paragraphs long about how awesome ramen is and how delicious it is and how good for you it is. it's a nonsense prompt, but I'm saying I could be on the phone, in the car, on my headset, like I was, using this capability combined with the new OpenClaw or ML means that I can have things that I give my AI assistant to do. Like he just did this instantly. The amazing world of ramen, a bowl full of deliciousness. Here's the image. I can have him create that as an actual blog post now in real time, or I can save this as a block for later, the joy of ramen. But if I did do this, or I save this as a skill, I can also, by the way, share this with Art, right? If I take Art Kessler, I could be like, text this to Art, and it launches a text message on my desktop to Art using a phone link or on my iPhone. But if I combine that with this autonomous stuff, I can actually have a whole bunch of things built for me while I sleep. And that was the goal. Like literally to have an understanding with skills, what I want to build, how I want to build, what marketing improvements, how to make my site better, how to do research, and to be able to give it these things where I have a mobile version of what it's supposed to do. I can review its tasks. And then notice I put a cage around this called test plugin on the site. It built the banner for me. Hello. I love when a plan comes together. It built the frickin' plugin for me autonomously while I slept. And remember when I explained to it what I wanted it to do? I wanted it to give me like a capability to edit things. Let's see if it did that. So if I go into probably settings, scrolling banner, ML Claw and AI Assistant are awesome. I could change the background color to something more revealing like red, and I'll slow down the scroll speed to 15, save the settings, and then let's go back to the site. Now, again, this is just a very simple party trick, but I can't tell you how amazed I am personally that I'm able to build and deliver this stuff to you. So this is on a $5 a month hosted InstaWP instance. There's nothing special here. But what I'm able to do is give you the MinuteLaunch suite, including all these capabilities of asynchronously doing stuff with one plugin. I'm going to say mark done and awesome. He now is done for me in a project. Here's the project, what I needed to have done. He's given me the code. He's given me, if I wanted, I could preview the site. He's given me everything I need and the plugin too. And he can do this for design. He can do this for marketing. He can do this for research. He can do it for client work. He can do it for communication. I've got everything I need now to do synchronous and asynchronous work. And all of it is just $97 a month, including the AI connection, because I built the key in. If you want, you can do the fully hosted, which is $197 a month. But for $97 a month, everything you ever wanted to do and more in WordPress, crazy. Here's one other party trick. I was earlier today in a conversation with a couple of fellas, and I was creating some content to just demonstrate, I can use the tools to generate an image. And by the way, if I was wanting to see what's in there, I can go to the media library and you can see what I created. Here's the dude itself. Let's just take a look at this guy. I made a prompt with my face and I said, make me into an action figure movie poster, kind of like a comic book. And it made this awesome thing. I could take that idea and do the same thing here, right? I can have media created. Oh, by the way, one of the things I do is let's use a reference image, right? So if I took the reference image, I could search for Spence. Or no, let's do Spence. If I took Spence and I say use as a reference of this guy and turn him into a G.I. Joe character riding around in a truck as if he's in a commercial for 1970s TV, make it kind of campy and fun, and make sure that you use his face exactly, although put his head on a figurine of a G.I. Joe doll. Okay. This kind of thing, normally you have to go and use Nano Banana. You have to have the interface. You have to have the reference components. You have to do all this stuff. MinuteLaunch, in addition to all the other things, gives you the tools and the components in place. So just creating something. And by the way, you then have a historical record of everything that you're doing and creating, and you can save the output, is in one box that you own and control. And you can use this for yourself, or you can use it for your clients. So it just made this. And by the way, it didn't follow my prompt, so I would have to maybe increase the prompt pressure on that. But it made the image itself, and then this is saved, if I wish, into download to my phone or save to my media library and so forth. And if I wanted to send that, I can also use the basket tool and send that to Art. So these are just examples of how all these things like work together. And I'm pretty excited about it because it really brings to a very small package just about every tool that any business could need or use. In addition to the fact you got a powerful CRM, email capability, marketing automation, and more without having to do all the hard work. I'll do more in my next video. My voice is saying it's time to say bye-bye from me and Fernando. By the way, Fernando's here. I just left him out because when I do these videos on StreamYard, it always puts Fernando in instead of the actual content. I'll see you guys on the next video.